Hey there gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and today we're talking about the top 10 worst games of 2024, but I have to admit that this was a very difficult video to make because there has been a lot of bad over the course of the last 12 months. There has been this big topic of this is the worst year ever for video games, and I don't think that's true. Of course, we had the video game crash in the 80s, we've had the invention of microtransactions, but I definitely believe that 2024 is going into the gaming history books as a uniquely dark time. So, last week we talked about the best of the best. I listed off the games I thought were the most enjoyable. So ever since I made that video, I wanted to go back and kind of reminisce on the stuff that I thought was the most pathetic and terrible. And I gotta admit that I am surprised about the fact that 2024 had some stuff that is just so freaking awful, it doesn't even exist anymore. There are so many games in this list right now that you can't even play. The amount of studios that got shut down, the amount of broken projects that launched and immediately got mass deleted. It's been a very strange time, but let's talk. Let's discuss the worst games of 2024. Be sure to like the video and subscribe, but let's get into it. Number 10, Star Wars Outlaws. This is by far one of the most despised projects in all of the year because it just doesn't live up to the expectations of Star Wars. I mean, recently we got, of course, the incredibly good games like Jedi Survivor, but I also just felt like it didn't really make sense to fans. Now, to be clear, I didn't hate this as much as everybody else. I certainly thought certain moments of it were cool. I thought the idea of a big heist mission in space was great. I liked the fact that there weren't constantly Jedi all over the place. Like an exploration of lore to a different light to Star Wars as a universe was a great idea. But the problem was that it's essentially a stealth game. This is completely about sneaking. It has instant fail missions. In fact, since this came out, it completely bombed, and now it might actually bankrupt Ubisoft, and they've completely been rebuilding the game. There's been multiple massive patches that are trying to completely remake it after launch to hopefully recover some form of trust, to actually recover the fan base. And you got to admit, that's pretty insane to think about. Number 9, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. Okay, so this is technically one of the most busted or weird things that came out in 2024, but I had to put this here because we had two separate big Sony remasters this year that, to me, are just dumb. We had, of course, the Horizon Zero Dawn remaster, which makes no sense, and the Last of Us Part 2 remaster. So you could technically put either of these, but I'm choosing to put Last of Us because, honestly, I don't like Last of Us Part 2 very much anyways, but these very pointless remasters from Sony, to me, are kind of aggravating. The fact that Sony continues to wait to reveal their next big projects, the fact that there's so few Sony exclusives that are actually first party, the fact that they just keep churning out remaster after remaster after remaster, it's getting a bit stale, but especially with this. I mean, it looks pretty much identical to the original PlayStation 4 game, and I don't care if it has an extra little mode or something like that. It is bizarre that they're even spending marketing time or budget or whatever on this. Like, come on, Sony, give us something new, my God. Number 8, Alone in the Dark. So I grew up completely obsessed with survival horror, and I still am to a big degree, but Alone in the Dark is one of those franchises that's always been very different from the others. It's not anything like something like Silent Hill or Resident Evil, but instead it's more about the magical. It's all about warping zones and tripping through time and some really cool concepts that I just feel like it's difficult to make that scary, but this franchise has really managed to do that. The problem is that this reboot, I don't even know what the heck to call this reinvention of Alone in the Dark, it feels like it just doesn't match the vibes of the original games, and also, it's clearly dramatically over budget. Why are you getting David Harbour from Stranger Things? Why are you spending so much time on celebrity casting and crazy voice acting and stuff to make a game that is pretty much a 7.5 out of 10? I appreciated this game because it did seemingly bring back the idea of Alone in the Dark, but this was so disrespectful to a lot of fans. It was so disappointing that the studio that made it is already closed. Alone in the Dark, you deserved better. Number 7. Lego Horizon Adventure. Now, I should probably be the target demographic of this. I am completely obsessed with the Horizon series. I very much like them a lot, and I think Lego games are cool. So I was definitely a bit shocked when I bought this game on Black Friday. I popped it in. This game is painfully basic. It basically has a jump button and attack button. It is so dumb, and it's surprisingly repetitive. You actually do missions over and over again, playing through the same maps, doing the same stuff. But my biggest problem with this is that it's just not funny. Typically, the horror in Lego games, the humor in the Lego games is the best part about it. The fact that they managed to make them so silly, they satirize themselves. Just doing a beat-for-beat recreation of Horizon, but removing the moments that are actually well-written, the really heartfelt story, and making it just a goofy story for kids. I mean, yeah, this game isn't the worst thing that came out this year, and I guess it's an attempt, but why make it so bad? I feel like games like Astrobot proved the fact that you can make a game that is a family game, but is still fun and exciting. Lego Horizon Adventures feels so painfully lazy. Number 6. Foamstars. So, one of my most played Nintendo Switch games is Splatoon. Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 3, I have like 400 total hours playing all the different seasons, getting all the unlockables. I like everything about Splatoon. So, apparently, Square Enix is a big fan of Splatoon as well. Foamstars is basically just a PlayStation 5 ripoff of Splatoon. You try to spray stuff. The whole goal of it is that they have foam parties. You can shoot this special painty projectile that's your team's color, and you got to try and make people into a big ball that's slide into them to kill them. Whoever has the most kills or the most accomplished objectives wins. My problem with the fact this game, obviously, it sucks just on the ground level. It's not fun to play, but also you can tell they came up with the idea of the microtransactions first. This is another one of those battle pass BS games where it's, hey, keep logging in, keep buying microtransactions. This game flopped. It flopped so incredibly hard, and I gotta be clear, I don't know who saw this project and went, yeah, that's definitely worth our budget. What in the hell is the point of this besides trying to make, I don't know, some weird ripoff that nobody is interested in? Number 5, South Park Snow Day. Oh god, this game. So, oh man, I really appreciate the crude humor, the silliness, the interesting art style of South Park. The fact that everything looks like it's made out of paper mache. You know, I like the fact that it has that cool, very handcrafted art to it. And I mean, South Park, of course, is a very long-running, very, very funny show. So why would you make a game that is a roguelike third-person shooter that also isn't funny? Yeah, I mean, this game seems so bizarre, you probably don't even realize this actually exists. So you go around attacking the elves. It's about a war between the kids of South Park and the elves, which of course are just like kindergartners with things taped to their ears. This game is terrible, it is just not fun, and the weirdest element of it is the roguelike. As you're playing it, these big missions have multiple stages of go get a car battery or gas tank or open this door or whatever like that. And while you're battling against these guys, you keep getting cards. The cards give you special abilities like more damage to back, more bleed effect, special magic abilities like being able to fart. But none of this matters because honestly, the game is so painfully freaking simple. It's not like you need all these advancements. And additionally, who cares about a roguelike in South Park if it's not going to be silly, if it's not going to be hilarious? This game was intended to be like a co-op game where you could jump online. The servers are immediately dead. I recorded this freaking footage yesterday. You cannot find a single lobby even up. This game was an abysmal failure. It's stupid. And honestly, I feel like that's the biggest problem. It's just dumb. Number 4, Hellblade II. So Xbox released 2 games this year. One incredibly good, which was Indiana Jones. In fact, it made my list of best games of the year. And then we had Hellblade 2, which is practically a 30 FPS, very short, very cinematic experience. We're playing as Sinua, and she has washed up on shore of a foreign land and is trying to destroy a bunch of like evil slavers. And I'll be honest, the reason I put this here is that I just think this game is very much style over substance. It tries to have a cool, dramatic soundtrack and interesting audio design where different voices inside sinuous heads comes out of different speakers of your earbuds and stuff. But my problem is that A, it's not fun, and B, it's just so paper thin as a concept. The first game did feel like it was challenging you as a gamer to interact with the idea of this world, this cost, going to hell, trying to revive a loved one. And the first Hellblade, it really did seem like it emphasized how hard it would be to have this level of mental illness while going on a big adventure. Hellblade II, it feels like it tries to go even further, really involving the delusions and illusions of this world. And I guess I'm just at a spot where, after having beaten the game, it feels so underbaked. Like, it's beautiful, yes, at that blistering 30 FPS, but at the end of the day, who cares? Like, this game just felt like such an unfinished idea. And even now, I kind of wish that I wish that it was as good as Hellblade 1 at the very least. Number 3, Skull and Bones. Now, we mentioned this at the beginning of the video, but Ubisoft has had a lot of very tremendous failures recently. Games that are just so hated, so busted, so honestly not worth your time. But Skull and Bones, it really goes above and beyond. This is a pirate MMORPG. You make your own ship, you sail around, but the problem is that there's nothing on land. The whole game is just on your boat. The other players, the other randomized objectives. It is an MMORPG. You sail around, you upgrade your boat, you get constant little cosmetic upgrades and stuff like that. But who cares? When I played Assassin's Creed Black Flag back in the day, of course that game was incredibly revolutionary because you got to be an assassin on the open seas. You're constantly docking, taking out targets, and then you go out there and sing sea shanties and stuff like that. This feels like Ubisoft saw the success of Black Flag and went, okay, you know what people really enjoy? Just sailing in circles in Skull and Bones. Just take the boats, put them out there, and make that filled with microtransactions. This game sucks. And I do mean that as a person that played an unfortunate amount of it. It sucks, and the more you play it, the more it sucks. Truly, this is one of those times where I feel like I wish I could have been in the board mood when someone approved this project and said, yeah, man, that's definitely worth our time. Everybody's going to love a pirate game. This took like 10 years to make, and it's not even fun for 10 hours. My God. Number 2, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. All right, now this one probably goes without explanation, but, everybody loves the Arkham games, the old Arkhamverse, where you got to play as Batman and do these special takedowns, being stealthy, trying to get cool upgrades and ziplining around and stuff like that. So when they said, hey, we're doing another Arkhamverse game, but this time you're playing as the Suicide Squad, Brainiac has come down and taken over the Justice League, and so in order to save the entire universe, you've got to find a way to kill the Flash and Wonder Woman and Superman and stuff like that. And, of course, Batman. Now, this game is bad for a bunch of different reasons, but it's also that it just feels disrespectful to take the characters that we love the most and then just literally shoot them in the head. I mean, this game is so bad. It's just such a weird idea. The idea of games as a service, games with something like this, the fact that you get to actually play the game and play all these different characters, playing as Harley Quinn and King Shark and Captain Boomerang, but then just putting them in a game that's filled with blue stat points and crappy upgrade tokens so you can go back to like a little kid version of Poison Ivy to put elemental types. I was deeply, deeply confused when I played this game because it just doesn't even matter. Like, really, why couldn't we get a new actual Arkham game? Why can't we get something that would actually respect the passing of Kevin Conroy, the voice actor of Batman? I mean, this game, honestly, it's already dead. They've already confirmed it's just completely canceled, and it's probably going to lead to the death of the studio. But even beyond that, I'm just sad that we didn't get a proper send-off to that Batman without just shooting him in the head in a park like they did in this game. Number 1, Concord. Yeah, of course this is going to be number 1. I mean, I am still shocked. The rumor is they put $400 million into this project. I hate this game. You could probably consider it to be about a 6.5 out of 10. This game is not completely terrible. The problem is that it's incredibly bland. I have a saying I've put in a bunch of different videos, specifically in a lot of my game reviews, which is better bad than boring. I feel like I have played games that were kind of bad in certain aspects, but I put hundreds of hours into it because the other mechanics end up shining brighter because certain aspects of it are technically bad. Whereas with Concord, it's just boring. They have sanded off all the rough edges. It's got a bunch of different classes. So you have Starfield, there's Starchild. There's like a guy who's able to use a shotgun and can turn his skins to diamonds. Or there's healer classes that have a minigun. But the whole idea of a hero shooter of trying to rip off Overwatch after Overwatch is dead is kind of odd, but also trying to basically mimic the vibe of Guardians of the Galaxy, but without any connection to Marvel. This game is just, it's odd. And I feel like the worst part about it is that not only does this game suck, they shut it down 12 days after it came out. They just erased it from existence. At this point, literally, Sony has removed it from the website. They've stopped all merch. They've taken down every mention of it. If you actually look at your PlayStation Wrapped for 2024, I played 100 hours of this. God, I'm actually serious about that. It is erased from the PlayStation record. So it just feels like even Sony is ashamed of it. I do truly believe this is going to go down into the record books as the biggest failure ever from PlayStation. And I don't know how it's ever going to be topped. And that's why I'm giving it my picks as the #1 worst game of 2024. And I feel like it's hard to even contest that. Did your most hated game not make the list? Got an idea for a future top 10? Give it in the comments down below. And if you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And please keep dreaming. And seriously, in the comment, tell me what your most hated game was, because I'm sure it's Concord, but whatever else there is that's particularly abysmal, I want to hear about it.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.